My name is Dominik, and I work at the University of Oxford at the AI Competency Center as a consultant focusing on uses of the new wave of artificial intelligence in the context of research, and also thinking about strategic questions of how this can impact the way we think about this new world of knowledge and institutions in the age of AI. I studied computational linguistics in the early 90s. So my first encounter with AI was talking about one of the first waves of neural network called connectionism. In the early 2010s, I had moved to language education in the context of dyslexia, and I was kind of looking around for technologies to help with speech recognition. And then in 2023, ChatGPT started becoming more popular. And it turned out the main technology supporting reading and writing, which is what I was working on, became AI. So I sort of made a full circle. I came back to my original interest in neural networks and the whole sort of principle. And now when we saw that they were actually working, it was more interesting to start using them. And so I sort of started transition to this. And now this is the main thing that I focus on. There's many people say, oh, this is just being oversold, this hypey thing. And I think in some ways, it's very easy to have the experience of what on earth is everybody talking about? This is just like stupid chatbot. The only way to learn how to take advantage of this, it's not obvious from the model itself. It's not obvious from the interface. You kind of have to pay attention to what other people are doing. So many things that I use these models for, these tools for, as I've learned from other people, because it's not impossible to discover everything. So I think it's important to pay attention, and that's why people come to these workshops, and I try to facilitate that next stage. I find it very difficult to think about it in the terms of the humanity benefit, because we never know the aggregate benefits. We can look at other technologies that have had, and people thought about nuclear energy. You know, we had visions in the 50s of like nuclear powered toasters almost. On the other hand, we have things that we never thought would be that powerful. For example, the early internet, and all of a sudden it's going to power in our lives. So I think it's really hard to make those extrapolations. So rather than thinking about the big humanity benefit, let me just think about some of the more immediate things that people can use it for. So we have some of the new, more powerful language models, like the Pro models from OpenAI or the DeepThink from Google, that are now being used by research scientists in the medical sciences, in biology, physics, to help them design better experiments, to help them double check their data. The other huge benefit right now is writing computer code. And it's now becoming so much easier to write good, more reliable code, which can support the research process, data management, but also just personal productivity. People can make themselves little sort of utilities that before they would have to have a big research team. And I think in 2 years' time, it's possible that we will have, instead of a search bar, we will have a prompt. We say, this is the app I want. And the models will build it for you so that it meets your needs, as opposed to just having to download somebody else's app and see if you can fit their vision of what it should be doing. I don't have particular concerns about AI than any other technology or tool, because any technology is powerful enough to be useful is powerful enough to be used for harms. There are two camps of people who are worried about AI. There's one camp of existential risk. There's definitely genuinely worried about the models becoming so powerful they might sort of escape the confines and start acting on their own in a way that definitely harm humanity. On the other hand, there are people who are worried about the models exacerbating divisions in society and spread misinformation. I, by and large, don't necessarily believe we've seen too much evidence of either of those cases in the way that people would have predicted, but it's too early to tell. It's really hard to predict these things. So we have to keep an eye on it and adjust and be quite flexible and clear-eyed about what is happening, how the technology works, and how we can take advantage of it, how we can prevent some of these downsides.